Hello, encouragers. I'm Rebekah Scott, wife, mother of 4, author, and owner and designer of Rebekah Scott Designs. I'm here to encourage you, to make you feel that I can do this spirit each and every day of our awesome journeys to fulfill our many important roles. I believe we are fully equipped to execute, and I will provide as much knowledge, practices, and systems as I can to help you understand just what I know you can do. Execute. We got this. Hello, encouragers. On today's podcast, I want to talk about a subject that you guys brought up during a coaching Friday, where you said you want to know what to do in the middle of business. And what a great question, because a lot of podcasts and books are recorded on how to start a business, how to even sell a business, how to grow a business. But what do you do in the middle of business? So I immediately started thinking about myself and my business. So Rebekah Scott Designs, the purse business, and then also the podcast side of my business as well. But I thought, what did I do in the middle? And so after writing about that, I came up with some pretty good things about what I did, and I know that it helped me get to the next level. So what to do in the middle of business? Number 1, I want you to gather data. So what's working in your business? Like, what do you get excitement from? What do you know that brings in revenue? What's broken? What do you know that's been broken for quite a few years, but not broken enough that you want to do anything about it? So what's broken? And what is your current size? Just be honest with yourself about what is your current business size. How much have you grown since the second year or the start? Because that kind of lets you know if you're in the middle, if you're getting some momentum, if you're still kind of hustling, what's going on? What is your growth chart and what is forecasted? Now, if those words you start glazing over going, I have no idea, your accountant, if you have an accountant or a bookkeeper, could help answer these based on how you started from year 1 to year now, what your growth chart and what your forecast could look like. They are fairly easily answered by a bookkeeper or an accountant. Or if your husband or yourself is really good at math, you could do it yourself also. I could not. So I needed to have my accountant kind of forecast for me and tell me what my growth chart looked like. It was really, really interesting. Ask yourself, what 20% of your job is making 80% of your profit? I'm sure you've heard this through some books and podcasts, this very question, but it is worth exploring. What 20% of your job is making 80% of your profit? And how can you pursue that more? Mine really is shows and getting to see the customers and interacting with them. That is only about 20% of my job, but it makes 80% of my profit. And why is that? Well, I think it's because I can meet and greet up close and personal, and I can get to know their lifestyle, so I can really match them with what I think will be the best purse for their stage of life. So I think that helps a lot, them getting to know me and why I started my business and my true why. They feel the energy and the synergy from me. So I realized that that was just really important to me, is that I couldn't quit doing the shows. Even with all the kiddos throughout the years, I did slow down on some shows during some years or pick some up during other years, but I need to still be out in the field meeting and greeting customers. Even as beautiful and amazing as my website is, shoprd.com, it is awesome, but I still need those events to meet and greet the customers, get to know them, shake their hands, give them hugs. Half the time it's giving the hugs. We're women. Who are we kidding? We're hugging, we're loving, we're talking about how the purse fit them for that stage of life, and now the toddler is larger and they don't have to carry diapers anymore, and what bag they should use now, and how they identify with the fabric and how it gave them an extra boost of confidence, that sort of thing. So I know that I still need to be going to the shows when I really evaluated what was bringing in the most of the income. The other thing you can do while you're gathering data is conduct a survey with your customers. Ask just 5 to 6 questions. We do this about once a year. Sometimes I think we've snuck in 2 surveys. But ask your customers some questions about your business. Ask them, what would you like to see in my business in the next 6 months? Ask for, constructive feedback. Some of the survey questions we ask are like, what color would you like to see in the lineup that isn't currently there? If there was a huge RSD giveaway, what would it be? What would you want? Did you know we have Twitter? The answer was no. So obviously we quit Twitter. But ask some questions that will give you some constructive feedback to take it back to your business to discover if you should be doing them or if you should be amping them up. Also, how much, when you're gathering the data, how much are your COGS? COGS is cost of goods sold. So here's the exact definition. Cost of goods sold is the direct cost attributable to the production of the goods sold in the company. This amount includes the cost of the materials used in creating the good, along with the direct labor cost used to produce the good. It excludes indirect expenses such as distribution costs and sales force costs. Meaning, for the COGS of a purse, I need to know down to the thread how much I've spent on the label, the lining, the outside, the leather, the buckle, the button, the snap, the thread, the seamstress, the interfacing, whatever it is. I need to know all of those COGS so that I can know how to appropriately price the item. Do you know those COGS in your own business? You've got to know them. You know how we preach, you've got to know your numbers, and knowing your COGS will make you more confident in pricing things and knowing how to charge for things, knowing how to pay your employees or your contractors. COGS is a meaty word, but it is so worth it. So how much are your COGS in your business? Also, while you're gathering data, what is your profit margin? This also, big word, but not that hard to understand. It's the amount by which revenue from sales exceeds costs in a business. So this is an awesome, exaggerated example. But if you're at $500,000 in sales, $500,000 in sales, and your expenses are $230,000, your profit margin is 54%. Okay. And if you exaggerated that more and you said you had $1 million in revenue, your expenses were $580,000, your profit margin is 42%. It's just what's left over. What is the percentage that's left over after your revenue, after your COGS, and after your expenses? You need to know that. What is your profit margin? And what is your payroll percentage? This is important to know to see if you need to switch gears with a couple of positions, if you need to amp up more, if you get to pay yourself more. You also need to know what is your payroll percentage and how steady is it? Does it change from the 15th of the month to the end of the month? You need to know what is your payroll percentage. Okay, so the first thing you're doing when you want to know what to do in the middle of business, the first one was you gather data. The second one is you're going to study your trends. This also was super important for myself as I was thinking about growth. When did you make the most money and why? What project were you doing that you made the most money and why do you think that is? You're studying the trend. Was it a peak season? Was it a peak product or was it a peak audience? What was the common denominator that made that the most successful and made you the most money? When are you the slowest and why? So for me, I'm in retail. The month of January through March is pretty slow, and even the month of October can be a little bit slow. So I know that because of different reasons with retail, and I can study it in my industry. But maybe for you, it's because you didn't have enough marketing going on to target the right customer, or you had a lack of something new. So people weren't looking to you because they didn't see anything new. The way you stay in business is new product or new people. That's how you stay in business. Or were you working in the business and not on the business? Because that will also affect sales. And as you're studying your trends, when do your social media posts get the most engagement? You need to study that. If you're posting at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. on a Monday, you're probably not getting seen. People can't access social media on a Monday morning when they got an inbox full of 100 emails, right? So study what's going on with your social media posts and which ones are getting the most engagement. Is it with posts, a Facebook post? Do you get more engagement or do you get more engagement on email? Do you get more engagement on Twitter? Do you get more engagement on Instagram? Where is it that the most people want to get access to you and what times are the best to study? This is how you're studying your trends. What works for your company? I know for us, we found out in the last year and a half, that videos super work for us. Just if I hop on and do a selfie video of the newest fabric that I just love, we get way more engagement and likes and shares when they can see me talking about a product. Video sells us every single time. I don't know that that's true for all other businesses. I just know as I studied my trends and with my social media gal, Melissa, who's amazing, she knows video rocks. So she's always asking me for more and more and more videos. Okay, the third thing I want you to do when you're in the middle of business, first you're going to gather data, then you're going to study your trends, then you're going to clean up house. Meaning, what is the day-to-day that could be cleaned up or regrouped or exonerated? When you're cleaning up house, think employees, meaning review their job descriptions. Take a look. It doesn't mean anybody needs to lose their job. Just take a look that you are using their strengths in their job description and the two of them match up. If you have someone on your team who could be doing a much better job if her job description was slightly changed, or she got to take something on or give something up, what would that mean for you? So for sure, take a look at your employees' job descriptions and make sure you have the right people in the right positions. Also, for subscription services, you no longer look at what are you subscribing to, especially when you're a small business, you subscribe to different things, different emails, different things that cost you money to implement on your social media. Take a look at that. Are you no longer using them? Or are you getting your money's worth? Take a look at your systems in-house, meaning what is your mail system like? What is your organizing like in your studio? We are doing studio or place of business. We've had 2 cleanup days, one for my tack house and one for my studio. Totally psyched. But Angie and my team is an amazing organizer. And so she sees through how things could be more efficient and effective. And so she's going to help me do that, meaning cleaning up house in the studio. Take a look at your weekly list or your weekly to-dos with your employees or with yourself. Are those making sense, or do you need to clean those up a little bit? Are you doing things weekly that honestly do not need to be done, that aren't moving the ball forward, that aren't challenging you? You've just done them from day one and you didn't ever question them. Clean those up. Also, take a look when you're cleaning up house at your emails to promote your business. Are they concise? How often do they get opened? What's your click-through rate? These are all things that you need to know what is working and what is reaching your customers. Your click-through rate, there's different ranges for different industries. So a 25% open rate and a 3% click rate, that means they click on the link in there, is a very good email campaign. Also, when you're cleaning up house, have a tough conversation with yourself or ask others the tough conversations or the tough questions of what's going on in your business. What are you afraid to ask in the middle of business? You need to ask it. So for me, one of those tough questions was asking my sales reps how the trunk shows were going and if I should continue doing them. And the answer was really difficult. It was to say goodbye to both. I actually had to let go of my sales reps, and it wasn't like a firing process or anything, but I did have to reach out to them individually and say, this branch of my business no longer works. It's no longer feasible for me to send you on the road to go to a show where you can only sell $150 worth. It did not add up. And I didn't want to do that because I still wanted to keep them on and keep them excited about the product. But the truth was, it was no longer working for my business to do sales reps, and the trunk shows were no longer working as well. So I said goodbye to both and focused my energy more on the website and the shows, which totally worked. Difficult, asked a tough question, but was the right thing to do. Hey, encouragers, if you have enjoyed listening to this podcast or if you have binged on several, I get you. I totally get you. There's an opportunity for you to join our Patreon account. It's a platform that you can join to get more of what we offer. There's 3 tiers of awesomeness, complete with different benefits. One is 10% off Encourager Store, emails, promotion. One is access to Coaching Fridays on Zoom, which is a huge thing. If you enjoyed the Coaching Fridays that we used to have on Facebook and you would like to be a part of that as well, we have a new way of doing that, a new platform in a Zoom, but you do need to join our Patreon account. So there's different levels on there, anywhere from $5 a month to $10 a month to $60 a month, which buys you a spot at the end of the year for our Encourager Workshop. Instead of one big amount at the end of the year, you could pay it every month to earn that spot at the Encourager Workshop, which you've heard me talk about a lot. It is a game changer. So I want you on our Patreon account. I would love to know who you are. I'd love to be coaching you on Fridays, getting to know you and your business, where you are, if you're the beginning of business, the middle of business, or you're trying to sell the business. I want to know you, and I want to know your business, and I want to know how you're doing with your family. Each of us is different in our own individual jobs, and I can better assist you when I know you better through our Patreon account. Coaching Fridays and the workshop, please join now on the different tiers at the Patreon account. We got this, encouragers. And number 4, decide if this is a growth year and how you will pursue it, meaning how much are you willing to spend to see it grow? So in the middle of business, I kept telling myself, I've got to hire somebody smarter than myself. I knew there were some systems that were not necessarily broke in my business that could be amped up, but I just didn't know how to do it. And so I did consult with some consultants and asked them, like, what would you do? So after consulting them, I made a huge amount to say what I really wanted to grow at, just totally honest, how I wanted to triple my business. And they said, all right, here's what you're going to need to do that. And what I learned was I had to spend a huge amount to get there. I paid for a very expensive spreadsheet that was called a COGS sheet, and it laid out exactly how much each purse was costing me, all the employees, everything, what my profit margin was down to like a point percentage and everything. And it was a great learning experience. But a couple of things that I learned from it is it took me a long time to recover because I invested so much in it. It took me 2.5 years to recover from that growth spurt. Now, it did grow my business. It did grow my business, but it took me so long to recover. I would have done things a little bit differently. And so what I would encourage you to do is decide how much you're going to spend on the growth, because you are going to spend money to grow the business. Put a cap on it. Like, we're going to spend this much, and then get some second opinions. Don't just assume that the first consultant you're working with will solve all your problems and make it even more amazing. Get some second opinions and learn to negotiate. So if I had to do it over, I would have said, that's awesome. I believe in what you can do for my business. I appreciate all the details. And believe me, they had tons of details. I love the details that you've laid out here, but I'm wondering if there's a choice B. So you've just given me choice A. Is there a choice B? Is there a lesser amount that I can achieve for half that growth? Or why is it that you've set the bar that high? So that they can explain to you, like, we believe in you so strongly. We know we can do this with your product or this with your brand, blah, blah, blah. That would be great. But I always encourage, get a second opinion and also learn to negotiate. That's what I learned for sure in the middle of business and how I would do it differently with consultants. Decide what percentage growth do you want, and does that require more time per week or more employees to do it? And for you to work on the delegating and the big ideas. So with this growth and the percentage of growth, what would need to change? Because you can't just take this on without changing anything. You're going to need to change a few things. Does that mean jobs positions? Does that mean your position in particular? Do you need to spend more time on the business instead of in the business, trying to reach these numbers? Decide what that looks like and what percentage growth you have. Because, we're big on goals. You need to set out a goal and what you want to see happening. Also, another big thing that I did in the middle of business was decide that I needed to really rethink my marketing. I needed to amp it up for the gal that I currently had in it and get really clear with her and her to say what she could do with my brand, letting that go. Because I do like marketing. I love thinking of ideas and stuff, but it's not my specialty to execute on them. So getting really clear with whoever that is, if that's going to be you, or I highly suggest there are people that major in this, you guys. Hire them. They will pay for themselves in what they are able to do with marketing. And then number 5, ask yourself, what will business look like in the next 5 years? Be tough on yourself. Where will you be? For me personally, I want to have built my barn studio. I want to employ 40 people, and I want to be only designing and coordinating. No more surging and kit making, no more of the production, just on the first prototype. So I can still be in my happy place, which is creating, and that is literally hearing the buzz of the sewing machine, but not as so much a part of the mass producing. Right now, I still need to be doing that, and it really is a cost thing. So I can be honest about that. It's a cost thing. I'm a ninja at it. I don't know that I can afford somebody yet to go at the speed I am, but I know that's what I will need to be doing. So I'm always thinking about what position, maybe someone I already have could do this like I could, or that I could train to get up to this speed. What does that look like for you? Where will you be in the next 5 years? Different building, same building, more employees, less employees, but more efficient and effective? Retired? Sold the business? What does it look like? What does the next 5 years look like? Sometimes when you're in the middle of business, you still feel like you're in the beginning of business and you're still hustling instead of looking ahead. So look ahead. P.S. I will also have written a second book. This will be a national podcast, and I will be designing things for your home. Just saying. Okay, so what do you do in the middle of business? Number 1, you need to gather data. Number 2, you need to study your trends. Number 3, you need to clean up house. Number 4, you need to decide if this is a growth year. And number 5, you need to ask yourself, what will business look like in the next 5 years? I hope these have been encouraging to you, that if you are in the middle of business, you go ahead and answer these. They will be available on a reflection guide as well, because I want you to do your homework. I want you to sit down and think about this. Take a couple hours one afternoon and think about, okay, I'm in the middle of business. What do I need to do now? Because that shift in the middle of business could cause big, awesome things to happen for you. But you need to have that moment where you're still and evaluating these 5 things for if you're in the middle of business. Thanks so much, encouragers. Until next time, we got this. Hey, encouragers. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you've had the scene where you're crying because there's no way you can meet all the roles in your life, I've been there. I've so been there, but I'm not there anymore. And I know how you can get out of that slump and start executing on all the things that God has equipped you to do. You can pick up my book at equippedtoexecute.com, also on my website at shoprSD.com, and it's also available on Amazon. Thank you for tuning in, encouragers. Remember to subscribe so it's automatically on your phone, and please rate and review me. We got this, encouragers.